hearing the Murlocs was kind of fun, but
Wait, how did they go?
no.
Well, I mean, there was obviously a lot of fan service, including that scene, but I loved it. Yeah.
So ESO Greymore has been delayed over a week because of coronavirus, but they don't give a date. So expecting that, okay. For those who don't, we'll get in a minute about New World, also delayed. Fallout 76 Wastelanders is coming out April 14th. That would be interesting. No delay there. So we'll see if that recharges a franchise that has woefully been hurt big time, okay? And BlizzCon 2020 is still in work. It's obviously end of October, so a little out there still. So Blizzard hasn't canceled it yet, okay? Local beer festival postponed from June to August. Kennethan is left beerless in Seattle.
Aw.
That was. And last little bit, I know. Of the daily
you're going to have to hand that joke out to them, man. Anyone younger than us isn't going to remember that silly movie.
I know. And the last one is Chronicles of Lyria's boss. We told last week, we did hey, a shout out to Alan, who wasn't here, that the Kickstarter game was canceled. Apparently the guy says, oops, sorry. I didn't mean to say it that way. No, I'm still trying to get more funding. It's not over yet. There are some devs still working on it, so we're moving forward, okay? Now, Alan does mention about why not just do it online. And that's true. That can happen. So we're just commenting on the fact of whether or not China must be the capital. All right. Our days are done. Now it's time to do an escorts quest. So we're going to do some big new stuff. So New World, another game that was supposed to come out into May, has now been delayed because of COVID. So end of August. The head game designer made a comment that, yes, while they're working from home, they're all being safe and all, they recognize that there was some logistical or I would say process error or process problems that coming of not being cohabitating or collaborating in the same spot. And so they want to do us right. They want to make it good. And so they pushed it out. Okay. So yeah. But before that happened, myself, Jaziel, were on Jafar's, that guy from Aladdin's Twitch channel, along with Shayless, who then was replaced by Grid, talking about New World. And it was a fantastic 5 hours. I stayed up late not because of all the show, but because in about 2 hours in, we had a New World community manager and a dev pop in. That was great. We can answer questions. They can answer our questions where they could. Obviously, they can answer questions that were outside the NDA. And they started dropping alpha codes into the chat. They probably dropped about 10 plus alpha codes into the chat. And so people could actually play the game under NDA and not talk about it. So I went through and captured a lot of the questions and answers that the community manager and the dev said. So I wanted to highlight a couple of things, and I want to toss it off to Sir Jaziel for what his highlights of this were about this case. We both have been playing the NDA version of New World, so what I'm telling you now is not under it. So what I love the most was a comment made by Shadeless, also previously known as the Calvinist, about what New World is. It's a game that appeals to FPS players and MMO players, to PvP players and PvE players, to RVR, faction versus faction, to world versus world type thing, to rift type things, to crafting, to fighting, to governing, to even sim players, okay, like Sim City. But that was pretty good because it's true, okay. And the other thing was the fact that the game itself, crap, I forgot. Never mind.
The game itself is very sandbox-like.
A little bit, yeah. I think I can't say it's why. Okay, so anyways, a lot of good questions and answer about. Like one of the questions was asked, "Can you jump in the game?" Some of us remember the whole brouhaha with Final Fantasy 14 when the dev said, "You don't need to jump in the game," and then they did put you up in the game with the Realm Reborn, trying to be a really good game. There's no jumping, there is leaping. Okay, so there's leaping in the game. So that was one thing, right? So they talked about the PvP, the Vanguard, the influences come from Dark Souls, Ultima Online. They did obviously when it comes to housing, because the guy who was the dev who was in our chat, was doing housing design. So they're the biggest Animal Crossing fans on the team. So they do talk about voice acting not being fully voiced at this stage. And it was other things too, right? They're working on weapons, they're working on different things, listening to community. They're trying to balance out the whole thing because they don't want to just listen to the whiners. They're trying to do a good, logical, data-driven approach to what they should and should not change. They have in the game, right? So a lot of good things about that, right? So I'm gonna toss it over to Jaziel. What were your highlights from the new world that you caught out of it and that just really excited you and about the whole thing?
The first thing that really excited me was the fact that a dev and a community manager showed up to our little tiny stream. You don't find that very often.
Yeah, no.
I mean, we've done this show, and we've done other shows where we were talking about new games coming out and not had anybody representing the publisher or the game, the people making the game, or anybody really show up to represent whatsoever. And it's just really great to see that they're out there. Now, I know some people might say, well, of course they're out there looking for people that are giving out leaks or showing alpha footage and trying to shut them down and all that. Which that's true. They said that they're actively doing that. That they, people that are playing alpha are they're under NDA and not supposed to be sharing that video footage
right.
and
Yep.
and really not supposed to be talking about their experience other than in general at this point. So yeah, they were doing that, but they came in and they were willing to answer questions. They stayed there for it was only supposed to be a couple of hours, and we ended up there for over 5 hours. And they stayed and answered as many questions as they possibly could, and just did a great job with that. And then they started dropping like tons of alpha codes for people to go help test the game. Again, totally unexpected, unasked for. They just, here you guys go. Why don't you help us to develop this game? And so I was really happy with that. And as far as details go, I was really happy to have some of my questions asked as far as the details go, like how PvP and PvE systems are going to work, and crafting systems to a degree, what's going to be available. I think we even tossed them some ideas. I'm sure they already thought of them, but they made it seem like we were giving them something new. So that was appreciated and nice.
Right.
Mounts being one of them that are not in the game right now, and they heard all of us that were in the podcast saying, hey, it'd be really cool to have ground mounts in the game. So they're going to take that back, with them. But I am also encouraged by the fact that they kind of, I'm not going to take credit for us for what we said to them, but it is funny that just a couple days after we said, hey, we just want you guys to know, take your time. Don't rush. Don't try to rush us out.
Right.
We want you guys to deliver a good product. And if we have to wait an extra couple of months, we're willing to do that. There's
Right.
a lot of fans out there, people that are waiting for the game that are going to say to the contrary. But for those of us who are actually like legitimately going to play your game and are looking forward to this, please take your time. And it seems like they listened, because they did just a couple days after that delay the game up till August, which I'm cool with that. Now, do I want to play the finished game? Absolutely. Everything that was spoken by the dev and the community manager, as well as the videos that they've released, the dev diaries that they're calling them, that they keep releasing every other week-ish. Well, actually, there's a couple of ones that had a month in between them, but we're getting a lot of really good information, and there's been a lot of changes that I thoroughly love. There are some things in the game that we talked to them about, like the game was initially supposed to be very PvP oriented, in fact, almost strictly so. And they've kind of very recently started integrating PvE stuff, and it does sound like they're going to devote just as much attention to the PvE as the PvP, that they want to appeal to both sides. And from my experience, again, I can only talk generally about it, can't really go into detail there. You can see that that's true. They are trying to appeal to both, and they are putting increasingly more content in there. Now, the COVID-19 has definitely slowed them down. They're working from home now, which slows down the process. You can't just, go over to your the other guys that you're working with, level designers and everybody else that you're working with, and go over to their cubicle and say, hey, what about this idea and whatnot. You're having to work like we are right here. And it slows you down,
it does,
unfortunately. But there's a lot of work going in there, and it's very encouraging. And with such a large company, Amazon being behind this, it would be very easy for them to have kind of an ego and to just push out the minimal product that they can. And it does absolutely not look like that. There's love going into this game.
Yep.
And
true.
A lot of time and effort. And again, I'm going to use the word encouraging. It is very encouraging. I'm looking very forward to what they have to offer us in the future.
Right. So Solomon, I know that you're going to play New World with us. Okay. I don't know if you got a chance to read the notes or even see some of these things that happened. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, not really. It's just, the newest information that I could find that they provided in tandem with the announcement of the delay is their Invasions gameplay. It looks like it's their World versus World gameplay, and they're just calling it Invasions. I could be wrong. Okay. I didn't really go in depth. I touched upon it on my MMO and RPG news roundup. I only briefly touched upon it because I wanted to actually dedicate an entire video to this article, but I actually didn't really get into the article itself, unfortunately. But other than the fact that, it's about, if they're talking about the governor of your little settlement being able to participate in large PvP battles.
Right.
I think it's like 40 versus 40, I think it is, or something like that. But yeah, I'm just saying that, that's their latest newest information that they have out there, which I will cover probably sometime next week.
Cool. Thank you. I didn't read that. I saw it posted. I didn't read it. I was so busy with the other stuff that went down. So I want to point out the dev who was in our chat was a lead game system designer responsible for leading the part of the design team that builds and tunes things like crafting, progression, and loot systems, among other stuff. And then the account manager, the community manager was Greg. He gave us his name. Okay. So what I thought was also kind of add some things. I didn't know this until it was mentioned. It wasn't by them directly, but there is no subs for this game. It's $40 or $50, how you want to spend the money to buy the game. It's a buy-to-play game, kind of like Guild Wars 2, and there's no subs. Okay. So odds are they might have some kind of money making somewhere else with regards to, and one of the things was interesting because it is Amazon Games and Twitch is owned by Amazon, there's going to be integration between the game and Twitch.
Right.
I'm not sure what, because I always said I would love to be able to have my Twitch chat, like a heads-up display on my game. Not have to go to their screen. It's right there. Okay. So, but that's interesting. So
they've already done that with their first-person shooter, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's another game Amazon Studios is making. I forgot what it's called. It's very similar to Overwatch, and the viewers of your stream channel could be like technically like the 13th player, like not an actual player, but there are ways where they could implement like different things, like all of a sudden they might switch the rules around, or all of a sudden they might, you know, change it up and, you know, change whatever, I think maybe the map or something, or have a debuff on all its players and stuff like that too. So I mean, yeah, I forgot the name of the first person shooter, unfortunately, but they are, if they're willing to go that far with that game, I mean, who knows what they're gonna do with the new world.
The dev who was in our chat was Helpful Walrus, and what was interesting, a comment. What was interesting was a comment the dev made. Okay, like I don't want to assume gender, that's why I'm trying to keep the name dev. Okay, an old industry buddy of mine used to say, think about when you stand on one foot. Balancing is the state of constant motion, not stillness. We will endeavor to keep the game well tuned as we introduce new things over time. Well said. I love that quote. I hadn't really thought of it before, but it's true. Standing still on one foot isn't just being still. You are in motion. You're constantly having to adjust like that, okay, just to stay up, you know. Couple other things I thought was interesting. They do have customization right down their cheekbones, eyes, etc. For those who really want to make their character look like themselves, okay, you can. I'm not big on that, okay, but you know when you cannot loot other players in PvP, which is good because I know people talk about the Kharkov one, right, where if you don't get back in time, you can get your body looted. You have it. You don't. Obviously, we're in the world of the human world, so you're not choosing races, and you're choosing ethnicity, I guess. Apparently, okay. You know, and you're right, but the fact that they have a company, which is the guild company, can actually own a settlement or a fort. And then from there, you have you start creating this whole PvP against different factions, and how you do that. You know, with the Vanguard being picked, who could be either a small guild or big guild, which is why Jafar is that should be a lotto system, not necessarily that. But it's interesting how they're planning on doing this. So there's a lot of this game that's going to be not just go out and kill mobs, level up. There's crafting, which, you know, it's great. You can be a governor or be part of the council for this thing. You can help with build the settlement up, build the things up. You have your own house, even though it costs you like 3,000. It is a very versatile game. I just hope they don't screw it. Again, I always hate when you do a lot of things, you know, you don't necessarily do a lot of things well. So it'll be interesting on how this goes in the future. So, you want to add anything to this?
No, you pretty much nailed it.
Right. Yeah, it's a good game. I mean, myself, the other streamers were gifted alpha codes by the community manager. They loved our content. They appreciate us doing this. There was a rumor that if you coded your Twitch stream New World, they would come in. They did, and grateful for that. So I've been playing the alpha. Can't talk about it. So now my question for myself personally is, do I keep playing the alpha knowing it's been stretched out? I'm not using an alpha gamer. Okay, I want to see the final product because there's things missing. Okay, and I get that. Okay, you're trying to test the system. You know, that's why I was thinking, like, with all of us alpha players out there who we know will be in the new guild coming up, new company, if we should plan on like a way to alpha test it ourselves. Okay, group together and try these different things how it works out to give the devs some good feedback. But otherwise, I'm playing Elder Scrolls.
I think it might be worth playing just if you want the leg up when the game eventually comes out.
That is the one people talk about that as being a negative for those who are good gamers, not me. Having a leg up means once they do server wipe, which they will, by the way, server wipe it after beta, is that they will already have a leg up, and once they hit the game, they'll zoom the tree really fast. I get that, okay. So I don't know. It's always one of those things. I'm just glad they're server wiping.
Well, considering the game, again, whether you like it or not, it's going to be very PvP intensive. And I think, like, I've already said this multiple times. When the game comes out, I'm rushing endgame, like, just because I know PvP is going to be such a huge part of endgame, and I want to have every advantage as possible. So I do plan when the beta comes, like alpha, maybe more or less, I don't know. But if I have the opportunity to do the beta, for sure, I'm going to learn how to do everything, learn how to rush to end game, and just try to be, the king of the world, so to speak, as fast as I can.
No, fair enough. That's what you like to do. So great. I'm probably gonna be average in between, I think, but that's great.
I'm trying to. I do this with every beta and alpha test that I get into. I like to dabble in every system in the game and help to report bugs or things that I think could be done a little bit better. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is I'm spending time doing a little bit of everything and just seeing how it all works and giving my feedback, and hopefully it helps them out.
Cool. Yeah. Anybody in chat? I know Alan's here. And so is Sinquin. Are you guys thinking about playing New World? Are you going to try New World? So join us, by the way. So yeah. All right, we're going to be moving on to another topic, another big game that had a lot of dumps recently. People are wondering if whether Blizzard might have turned the corner and become a little more friendlier toward its gaming community. Been a lot of dumps recently from about Shadowlands. And I thought what was interesting was one of their latest comments, one of the latest postings from the devs was this. I wanted to read this in verbatim because I thought it was kind of cool. At least classes have evolved throughout WoW's 15 years of development, and so have our philosophies on class design. With new expansions and increasing level caps came new spells, abilities, and talents. While earning new powers is exciting and a natural part of growth in a role-playing game, eventually we began to butt up against the limits of action bar and accessible keybind space, and many of the tools and perks that had once defined certain classes became increasingly widespread, diminishing class uniqueness. To address this in the past, we made changes to talents with Mists of Pandaria, and even removed several abilities in Warlords of Draenor. In Legion, alongside the introduction of artifact weapons, we focused on class identity and carving out a distinct fantasy for each specialization to go along with weapon. Mechanically, this meant revamps to most of our specializations, removing several long-standing class-wide abilities and adding new spec-specific abilities in the process. Today, in the Battle of Azeroth, while specializations have unique and flashy abilities, we've heard feedback that in some cases we've moved too far away from the core of the class that initially sparked players' interest when they first created their character. At times, there is more that divides two specializations of the same class than there is that unites them. Sorry. In Shadowlands, we want to return to the idea that specialization is about powering up a specific part of the class kit, not narrowing down the tool set. That was interesting, because that's one of the things that always hurts a game, in my opinion, when you do expansions. You keep trying to add more and more, and to the point, like, I think that people playing WoW Classic saw how the trees were in the past, those who have or have not played in the past, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, that's pretty simple. Can't we go back there again? No?
I'm sorry. My daughter's having her friend call.
No problem.
She knows I'm doing this. So
that's fine. So I thought what was interesting was that they actually put that out there, talking about how they're doing it. Because I've come back to the games. ESO is a good example of them. SWTOR, after an expansion, I haven't played for a while. I come back, and the first thing I notice, my trees are all reset. I'm like, what was there before? I do it? Do I want to do this again? Do I want to reset myself? So I end up playing new characters for that reason, because I don't want to try to figure out what I should be setting things to.
I didn't play that game because I didn't like the trees.
Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah,
I'm simmering it down. I know that's not what you said, but it's just kind of funny.
You're not a big WoW player, Solomon. So I was curious to know what are your thoughts about these latest updates coming out of Blizzard regarding Shadowlands? They seem to be addressing a lot of the consumer, that being us, the gamers' concerns, and trying to be more outright. Almost like the question is, has Blizzard turned the corner and maybe are trying to do better? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not a huge newbie. Like I said, I haven't played since Wrath of the Lich King. I think that they're making changes in a way that I think is pretty awesome from a MMO fan perspective, but as a WoW fan, or the lack thereof, at least, obviously, I'm kind of indifferent. I really don't know what to expect. It seems like they're making changes for the better, from what I understand about MMOs in general. But whenever they say, "Oh, we're doing this or doing that," like I covered it briefly in my on my show, and it's just like, okay, that seems pretty cool. I mean, I'm not like super excited about it, and it is what it is, and I suppose we'll figure out what it's really going to be like when the game finally drops. That's probably ultimately what's going to really drive home if I play the game or not.
Yeah, no, that's a fair statement because that's similar to me too. I mean, I'm played a lot more WoW than you have, and more recently too. Shadowlands excites me because it does kind of return to the Wrath of the Lich King type of story, or at least the fact that she destroyed the helmet, so it makes you wonder what's going to happen. I like the fact that they're going to go back down to 50, kind of make it simpler
Right.
a little bit, but yet still retain a bunch of the coolness of WoW. And the other thing is, I've heard that we probably, because BlizzCon is still on, I'm sure the COVID-19 is affecting Blizzard, and I've been hearing that maybe Shadowlands might be a 2021 release, even though I've also been hearing people saying end of this year still. Okay, so Jazil, you are the bigger WoW player among us. All this latest news, what do you have to say about it all? What are your things? What are your thoughts?
When they did the ability trimming, it was absolutely needed. There were way too many abilities and spells, and they just put themselves in a corner at one point, and it did get to where the classes really didn't have their own identity, and they had to do something. And I thought what they did was pretty good, but if I'm being completely honest, there were some things that were trimmed that probably should have stayed, and a lot of those I see that they're being added back in. I really missed the utility of being able to buff your friends, for one.
Oh wow,
And
yeah.
a lot of the specs that was completely stripped of you. You could buff yourself, and as well as with the other things like foods, stat foods and potions and all that, and elixirs. But we weren't shielding each other as much anymore unless you were like a priest or or healer type. There weren't the paladin buffs that we used to get. It they went too far, and now that they're adding them back, I'm pretty happy. Although, again, I think they're being a little heavy-handed.
Okay.
They're adding a lot that I don't know. We'll see how it plays out when it releases, but I do remember the days where you just didn't have enough bars on your screen to put everything on there, and it was just crazy mayhem trying to pick things out. But as we've talked about before, there was always those cookie cutter sites that you could go to and know exactly what ability or spell to put on those bars, and what to select as far as from those trees, or the modern incarnation of the talents. So we'll see. I do like that we're going to get a lot of, especially like I said with the paladins and whatnot, being able to have that extra utility that they had kind of lost, honestly, there for a couple of expansions.
No, cool.
Yeah, but with the class changes, I couldn't read through them all because it just goes on for pages.
I know. I didn't read them all either. I decided to give up after the first couple of them.
I read the first couple, and then I went to my warlock and my destruction warlock and just looked at those changes, and I gotta say, they're pretty awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
So Retro Rewind Podcast has a question. Shadowlands, is WoW doing an expansion based on C.S. Lewis?
I'm sure they got inspiration.
So he said, this is a deep cut reference. Not sure if you guys will get it. And I'm thinking may. Is that from Chronicles of Narnia? I'm not sure of the reference. So I was wondering if you guys got the reference.
Yeah.
All right, one. You get it, Solomon?
Maybe it has to do something with his cow puppet.
Just cow puppet.
Yeah, you don't know he has a cow puppet? It's pretty amazing, actually. No, retro rewind podcast.
Oh, retro. Okay. I didn't know he has a cow puppet. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Might have.
It's pretty awesome.
To his, I haven't really watched. I think one or two I've seen on VOD. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so apparently his emote here is a
calculus. I think that's what he calls it.
Calculus.
Calculus.
Yeah. Okay.
The fun part of World of Warcraft for me has always been the story.
Yeah.
If we could, I really wish that with the movie, although I loved the movie, honestly, there were things that I thought could have done better. I thought there was way too much crammed in there, especially for people that don't play the game. But my favorite aspect of World of Warcraft has always been the lore, the story. Not only that we are playing through in World of Warcraft, but in Warcraft, the RTS games prior to that, as well as the lore that's been written about hundreds, thousands of years before that through the books that have been released and the chronicles and all the other materials. You know, I am, you mentioned it, I'm interested to see where the story goes. Even if I don't return to World of Warcraft, I'm still going to watch the Blue Lure videos and I'm still going to watch for the story and watch all the cutscenes and everything.
That's the one thing that Blizzard does well. Is their cinematics are really good.
Oh yeah, they're excellent.
So apparently, Anthony Hopkins starred in a movie back in '93, a biopic of C.S. Lewis called Shadowlands. So we missed that reference. And Retro says, yes, the cow puppet is named Calculus. Good job, Solomon. All right.
Nice. Perfect.
So one thing about World of Warcraft is we do have a friend who is very much more so than us. After all, me and Terjazia, we're playing WoW. Retail, but not playing ESO. Godfuzz is really trying to get us to be back to playing WoW. We're not right now. He is excited about this. We're going to do a one-off show some point next couple of weeks with Godfuzz, whoever else, maybe about WoW, and just go over WoW stuff. So it'll be a special about WoW. He saw what we did for New World. He wants to do the same thing for WoW, which is great. I love the enthusiasm. He says, I don't have to be on there. I go, no, dude, you're going to be on there. You're the one who gave the inspiration. You're going to do it, okay?
Right.
Toretto says, yeah, I still rewatched Blizzard's cinematics trailer because they are so well done. I agree. I wish they would do the Warcraft movie themselves, the whole thing. All right. Any last things on WoW at this point?
Well, speaking about the movie, I know this is kind of going off of the tangent. They made that movie specifically for Chinese audiences. I think that's why it was
they made it for WoW fans, but China loved it the most, right?
Well, why do you think that is? Like, when you create a movie, China and America has pretty, I wouldn't say wildly different tastes, but I would go off to say that they made it specific for the Chinese audiences.
Yeah.
That's why it was panned here in the US.
The movie, I didn't know till someone pointed out to me that when the camera flew over Stormwind and looking at that town, right?
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I'm like, I've flown there. I've been there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So someone pointed out to me, timeline's wrong. This is pre-war Stormwind. This is post-war Stormwind. This is not the Stormwind from the time of the movie. I go, oh, crap. Okay, well, so I guess it's not right. But I didn't know that. Hearing the Murlocs was kind of fun, but...
Wait, how did they go?
No.
Well, I mean, there was obviously a lot of fan service, including that scene, but I loved it. I loved it. It
Me too.
absolutely needed to be in there. And I giggled when I saw the Murloc on that bridge behind the scene.
Yep.
It worked for me, but it definitely the storytelling aspect of it definitely was geared more towards because we do tell stories differently here in the West than they do in the East.
Yeah, true.
And Solomon is absolutely correct that it was aimed more at that market, and they did expect to, as far as what they say, they did expect it to be a bigger hit over there than over here with us, and they were right, but unfortunately, things get lost in translation, and the American and Canadian audience, we just didn't get it. It didn't hit over here, and unfortunately, that probably means we may never get we're not going to get a part 2.
I know, probably not. I was hoping they would fund one, just because that's why I think Blizzard does great cinematics. Just let them go and make a whole movie, okay? I mean, they could. I don't know why. I mean, they could make money off it. I don't know. It's just they do a great job with Overwatch, Diablo 4, WoW.
I don't see the need to integrate live action with it. I think they should have just gone full on CGI. I know it takes longer. In theory, it takes longer, but I think if they would have gone full on CGI and planned for it to, not waited to see the success of the first one before they moved on, just said, hey, we're going to make 3. We're going to make a trilogy.
Right.
Spaced it out a little longer, took a little longer with the character development and with exposing the world and explaining the world to people who don't play the game. Right. It would have hit a lot better here in the West, and potentially even in the Asian market. I think they really missed a great opportunity there. And if even for those guys, the schmuckety schmucks up there with the, I was going to say with the white hats, but that's not really a construction thing. But the higher ups that only cared about the money, they would have been just as happy because they would have made a lot more money than they did. And it's really sad to see that potential wasted. But maybe if the game is still around in 10 years, maybe someone will pop out. Maybe Solomon will take some more classes and put something together for us.
Solomon, it's your mission, okay?
That's pretty.
So apparently, Retro decided to clip me on the. So I'll show that later.
Dang it! I was gonna use that as the intro for this podcast too.
Agree. Agree. You can do that. Agree. Full CG animated movie, and Pixar can do it. Yeah. All right. We have escorted our quest person to their mission. We did not kill him along the way or her. So now we're going to be on to delivery quest. Okay. Where we usually do some. I have nothing here, so I'm going to just hand it off to Sir Jazil. Do you have any other notes? Any other MMO notes or anything you want to highlight in today's episode?
I think we've pretty much hit the big things. I am really I'm excited and encouraged by what I'm seeing with New World with the development. I'm excited and encouraged by the letter that we got, considering Chronicles of Valoria. That it's not just a couple of devs who took the code and went home and said, we'll keep working on it. You'll see it in 10 years.
Right.
That it does look like it may get resurrected at some point. Hopefully before they run off to another company and get too busy to, because we just talked about that could happen. And as far as the postponing Greymoor for Elder Scrolls Online by a week, from what I heard, it's pretty much ready to go out the door right now anyway. We've already got the first quest. You can grab that for free, I think, right now.
Yep, you can.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm very excited to see, because we're not only going to get to see what would you call it, above ground, as we've been getting with previous chapters, but we're going to have the whole subterranean area.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that covers almost the complete or not continent, but the land mass that we're. I couldn't think of the word. I'm sorry, guys, but it's like
Tamariel?
it's huge, and supposedly it's going to be very easy to get lost in there. So I'm excited to get lost down there, and again, you know, I don't know that Elder Scrolls that I am as invested in their lore as I am World of Warcraft, but it is pretty cool. There's
Right.
been some really great storylines, and I'm really looking forward to that, as well as that I used to play Skyrim, and this is covering a portion of what we played in Skyrim. So I'm really looking forward to see how they've placed that into our MMO, and the differences and the similarities between that game and Elder Scrolls Online. But
cool.
yeah, that's about all that I had for this week.
All right, Solomon, what are your notes for the week?
Let's see. Oh yeah, you guys know I'm a huge mecha fan, right?
Yep.
There's a mech in No Man's Sky that looks pretty freaking amazing. Anyways, it's not really noteworthy, but I thought I'd throw that in there. I wanted to talk about more lawsuits because we were talking about Chronicles of Illyria earlier.
Right.
There was another one by GM, the makers of the Humvee. They actually took Activision to court, saying that, you know, they took the exact replication of the Humvee in their video game.
Oh, okay.
And they were saying, like, you know, basically a copyright infringement or something, or that equivalent to, you know, taking the exact look. But then Activision countersued and said, no, we recreated a moment in, you know, like a fictional universe where this could have happened, and we needed to make it as realistic as possible with, you know, including the Humvees. And the judge sided with Activision, actually saying that it's part of the First Amendment. It's part of the freedom of speech that they could recreate this in the video game, even if, like, it looks exactly like something that is already
right.
What's the word? Trademarked, or what's the word? Like when you make an invention, like what do you do with it to make sure nobody copies it?
Yeah, trademark. I mean, it's a patent.
Patent, yeah. I think I don't know if that's the word that you use, but I don't know. That's the word that I was trying to come up with.
Borrowing a Humvee.
Yeah, you know, I'm pretty sure there's like a patent on or a trademark on the Humvee. You know, you can't design a car exactly like that. In another lawsuit, again, we're talking about China again. Tencent actually is suing another cloud-based company, saying that they're hosting their competitors' games on the cloud that they're using, and that's like why? I mean, I get it. I get the lawsuit. Like, why would you want to say why would you want a company to host the same games that your competition is hosting, and you know, they're saying that they're losing profits because they're potentially playing their competitors' games instead of theirs, and they're asking for like $1.5 billion.
Oh, come on!
But hosting is hosting. It's not the same thing as interesting.
Right.
Well, maybe
unless the hosting company's advertising one over the other.
Maybe it's the cloud was specifically made for only Tencent games or something like that. Okay, you know, maybe they contracted it out. Yeah. So those are the only like two big video game lawsuits or things you know, that happened. And real quick, I think this is worth mentioning to everybody who is watching. If you want free beta keys for Population Zero, head on over to massivellyop.com. As of, I think I checked this morning, and there's still at least 1,000 keys left. So if you're into survival MMORPGs, definitely get a key there. Thought that'd be worth mentioning.
Yeah. You heard it. Well, you didn't quite hear it here first, but you heard it here, guys. Okay, so yeah.
Also,
Including, by the way, I mean, so before you go on, like a reminder that New World is still going to be dropping alpha codes along the way. They said they're not stopping that, but I don't know how they're going to do it. Sorry, Solomon, you gonna say?
No, that's fine. This is fairly older news, but there's still beta keys available for Shadow Arena. If you're into, it's not an MMO, it is a battle royale, but it's based on the MMO of Black Desert Online. So if you're into that, I still think Massively OP still has beta keys left, from what I could tell, but I'm not sure. But they're hosting the last beta, I believe, this week actually, and this is it. This is the final beta before the game launches, and. Right. What's really cool though is that if you are able to get into the beta, participate in their competitions and or something like that, like the Way TV actually got a pretty cool gift box from Pearl Abyss themselves, which contained it contained all sorts of goodies from Pearl Abyss. I was actually jealous in a good way, because they had all these things that I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of Kakao games and Pearl Abyss, but I am a huge fan because I really do love their games. And to see them being able to get all these stickers, like a water bottle, a Black Spirit plushie, and all these Black Desert related things, I thought was really cool too. So,
wow,
well, cool, interesting. I didn't know that. Cool. So if we could solve this problem, we can make $1 billion. Okay. Because Retro's asking the question, where can I get keys for more time to play games?
I haven't heard of that one. What is this more games game you're talking about?
I don't know.
More time to play games. That's my logo.
Ken needs that too.
I've been messing around with trying to do something where it's like I've created some kind of like overlay that says, too many games, not enough time.
Mm-hmm.
Just said
the Steam syndrome. That's what I call it.
We're done with this delivery quest. We've done those different things that really start the whole game off. And now we're going to do a storyline quest. After all, you got to do a day. You got to have the storyline quest. Okay, so tossing out this question to the panel: a discussion and education on min-maxing. I've heard about it. I know kind of what it is. I just wanted to go a discussion about whether or not you think it's good, bad, ugly. Your viewpoints on it, opinion, if anything you have on it. I don't know. Just wanted to throw it out there. Min-maxing. You've heard about it. Go at it, Solomon.
I'm indifferent. Play the way you want, really. Like, I get it. I get why people do that, is because you want to be the most efficient, the most powerful, character that you could possibly be. And sometimes if you're willing to put in the effort, like the only game that I could really think of where min-maxing was like a huge deal was Star Wars: The Old Republic, really, because you had different classes, and they had this system where they introduced legacy gear, and legacy gear is gear that you could share amongst all characters. If you didn't have legacy gear, you'd only have gear specifically for like a sniper, gunslinger, Jedi Sage, Sith, sorcerer, etc. But with the legacy system, you're able to use parts from a Jedi Sage, and then use that particular piece on your, say, gunslinger if you wanted to, or your smuggler or something like that. And so my experience with min-maxing is a little different compared to what I've experienced in other MMOs. So, for what it's worth, though, if that's what you want to do, I'd say do it. Like, the only thing that I feel like it's gonna really be a problem is when it is the PvP, obviously, because people want to find ways to balance the game, and players are finding sneaky ways to make their characters really powerful by min-maxing. But not even min-maxing, but there's even like character cancellation skills that you could do, which is a completely different thing, but it kind of fits in the realm of being the most efficient, the highest DPS class that you could possibly make. So, but at the end of the day, like, if I could pull it off, I'd do it for sure.
So min-maxing, let me sure I got this right. Min-maxing is where basically you are not playing the character you want. You're just trying to create a character that is the best at a specific job or role.
Right.
Does that sound fair? No? Okay, so Jazio, touch off to you. If you can educate us and then give us your opinion then.
Well, first of all, I will say that I absolutely do it, and I'm constantly trying out different combinations of abilities, different combinations of armor, statistics, and everything, and really crunching numbers and trying to improve, constantly trying to improve.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't necessarily think that you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong, and that some people do. They are willing to play that character in a different way than they enjoy to get better numbers. But I
Okay.
think most people that participate in min-maxing, myself included, it is a fun thing to try to eke out any
Right.
minuscule amount more of DPS or healing HPS, just to be more efficient, to be better. And some people, that is really fun to them, being at the top of those charts at the end of a raid or at
Yep.
the end of a PvP event or whatever, to have the most kills or to have the most, do the most healing, to do the most DPS. That's what they find to be the most rewarding with their time invested in the game. I find it just like this is going to make me sound crazy, but just like a cup of coffee. Some people are completely content with just brewing up some coffee in their Mr. Coffee machine in the morning. They toss the grounds in there, any old grounds will do, and they throw the water in, and they get a pot of coffee and they pour it in a cup and they drink it and they're completely fine. And then you get some people that are kind of in the middle, that they care about the grounds that they buy, the brand that they buy, and the machine that they're using. And then you get people like me who go online and I research how to make the perfect cup of coffee or a better cup of coffee, and
Yeah.
go to the extent of buying full beans and grinding them down myself, and what is just the perfect blend of coffee, and constantly trying to pursue that the next better cup.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with
I know.
the game, and
Why does it come across as negative? I get the
comes
impression
across
that people
negative
being negative.
because
Is
of
it
elitism.
elitism?
You end up
I see that.
getting people who use it to say I'm better than everybody else, and you end up with
If you
guilds
okay.
or groups within guilds, cliques within guilds, that won't allow
Yeah.
you to come to the raid because you don't have
Right.
the right gems socketed in your armor, or because they've gone to your live stream and seen that you're using a rotation that's not what's considered the cookie cutter best,
Okay.
or that you're not timing the casting of the set abilities and spells efficiently, things like that. And there absolutely are those people that hold it to say, I'm better than you, haha, you can't come play our reindeer games. So that's why it gets viewed negatively, because people are like, dude,
Right.
I
You
just
use it
want to play
as
the
a
game.
weapon.
Right. I just want to play the game. And they say, no, you can't raid with us because you suck, because you don't do
Yeah.
what we do. You're not
That's sad.
studying. You're not at work on these websites, Fat Boss, or used to be Elitist Jerks, used to be a big,
All right. Remember that?
yeah, it used to be a big website that you have to go read on the new raids, and you need to know your character inside and out. And if you didn't, then you didn't come to the raid. And
Yeah.
so that's
Okay.
how
That
it
makes
got
sense.
But I feel like those people would exist regardless, though.
Oh,
yeah, it's true. Well, that's why. I mean, I'm glad you guys did this, because I had heard of a negativity to it, and yet the way you guys talked about it, I'm like, no, what's wrong with that? If that's the way you want to do it, I mean, you can play the character you want, okay, in the class you want. It may not be the most efficient, but you have fun with it. Okay, and there are people who actually want to try to tweak the numbers and see what I can do with it. I mean, I used to watch people, not watch them, but I would see, like I said, Elitist Jerks or other places where they would show me, compare. They would show the data. Here, if I did this combination, I would do this much DPS damage. If I do this combination, I did this, right? You can see if I tweak this thing around that out, I'm like, all right, because I'm an engineer, so I'm analytical, which is a good thing. The negative side is I can be rather anal. Okay, so it's a negative thing, right? So you just point out to me that min-maxing is basically there's a positive side and negative side, but ultimately it boils around to how people use it as a weapon or as a good thing. It's like the terminology now. Okay, boomer. It can be used as a weapon and really dissing people who are older, or it can be just a friendly little like, love ya, okay, boomer, type thing, right?
Of course you bring up boomer. Only a boomer would bring up a boomer.
I still don't get it because boomers are from the baby boom and I'm Gen X, so whatever.
Well, no, technically Ken's Gen X too, but barely.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So Lord of Min's in the house. He says whiskey. He's like whiskey. Share fam. I don't know. I'm doing this whiskey for the day. Glenn Cullen. I can't share it with you unless you have a virtual thing. Retro Day had to go. He's going to be editing his podcast. So he's going to bamboos, which if you don't know, Retro Rewind Podcast has a podcast. You go find it on all the places you can find podcasts, right? He does reviews of movies and or games that are 15 years or older. And it's a great show. The way he formats it, the people he has on it, it's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Go see it. He does tend to stream on, I think, Friday nights, 8 o'clock Pacific time, when he actually does the show that he didn't record, trans into a actual podcast. I haven't been able to watch him live yet, like one time briefly. Okay, so yeah.
And he has a cow puppet.
And calculus. I gotta see that. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so that thank you so much for the storyline quest. We'll move on. We're almost near the end. So we did, and we still do, and we still will have a pre-launch party for New World. Unfortunately, it won't be in May. It'll now be in August. Okay. So we got a lot of time to get ready for this, and so we'll know more. We're going to be seeing whether or not we'll be working with other people of like-mindedness. There are a lot of folks who want to do like a 24-hour stream of the actual launch. There are those who want to actually just play the game and just share with it. So we'll see how we work out we'll work with other people or just go it alone. Okay. So I know that the community manager for New World is interested in working with people. So we'll see how that plays out. So yeah, there you go. We are still leaning toward Covenant, but I don't know. I think those folks who are playing Alpha might lean a different way. We'll see how it plays out in the end. But
Heretics,
right now,
all of you.
I think right now you got level 10. I'm not sure what we're doing in the NDA side of things. There's which side they're going on, but yeah. All right. Where can we find you, and what MMOs are you playing right now, Sir Jazeel?
Right now, I'm in alpha for New World. I've been putting a lot of time into that, just reporting bugs and just ideas for things that I think might be improvements that I'd like them to consider, and just my overall feelings with the game. But I've I put a lot of hours into the alpha this past week, but as of last night, I kind of resolved that I'm going to go start devoting a little more of that time back into Elder Scrolls Online again. Because really we're testing.
Right.
New World. ESO is still a game I'm going to play, and it's not in testing. So I feel like that's more the things that I do in that game are more permanent. Because of course, through alpha they do wipes and you have to start over, and so if I invest a lot of time into that, I'm gonna feel kind of like I'll probably get burned out, honestly. So as soon as we're done here, I'm probably gonna go into ESO and do my grind there. As far as where people can find me, just type Sir Jazeel, one word, and I'm pretty much everywhere. But mostly I pay attention to Twitter and Twitch and Discord. But
Okay.
Yeah, that's about
You don't
it.
have do you have a TikTok? I'm just.
You know, my kids are
I
on
just-
there, and I just
That's
think
okay.
I'm the wrong generation for that, guys.
All right. Solomon, what about you?
You can find me obviously Whiskey and RPGs on YouTube, Solomon SK TV, Twitter, Solomon SK at just Google Solomon SK, you'll find me somewhere. I'm still playing Black Desert Online. Matter of fact, I'm AFK training here.
AFK
Right
training. There he goes again.
Yeah. Black Desert. I actually, again, I said last time that I installed Path of Exile. I still haven't fired it up because I'm just being lazy. You figured I would with all this time that I have. But other than that, yeah, I still kind of dabble in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and looking forward to the New World. But I think I'm gonna wait until the beta because as a content creator, I want to be able to share what I go through, and
Yeah.
I just don't again, I still want to play it so I learn so I could just again rush to endgame, but at the same time I would like to be able to share that so to be able to provide content and kill two birds with one stone essentially. So that's that, and there's a bunch of other games and videos that I gotta make, but I'll get to that when I have the time and announce it when in due time. So yeah.
That is hard. That is hard when you're doing the NDA for New World. You can't stream it, can't talk about it. What I find fascinating about, I haven't done Owls before, okay, but there's literally a watermark over your screen. So they know based on that number
Yeah.
who it goes to, okay?
Right.
It's like, that's good. It's good of them to do that. So yeah.
Very distracting, though.
It's a little distracting, right? But it's just enough where you can see it, but not enough time. So you can find me here. Obviously, I'm streaming on Kennethan on Twitch, Kennethan Live on Twitter, and other things, right? So been playing same with Jaziel. Except that I also do every Tuesday. I play Champions Online. My friend, not Fred, and we have added another person to our party, Maluz. You might have seen him on my Twitch channel, but Nod is the character in game. We did a thing Tuesday that still needs one more person. Needs 4. Oh my gosh. We thought 3 could do it, but 4 needs it. There's certain in-game items we never finished up because it needs a full group of 5 and can't always get that. So that's where I'm at. Elder Scrolls Online, New World, and Champions Online. I still got to finish my Jedi Fallen Order at some point. Oh my gosh, too many games, not enough time.
I thought you were a Star Wars fan, Ken.
I'm a Star Wars fan. I know that's what I guess me about not playing SWTOR, but Elder Scrolls right now and New World. So yeah. All right. Thank you so much for everyone being here. We thank you for everyone hanging out with us in the chat.